Hello and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. Now today in the studio we're going to be talking about the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, or FATCA, and in the studio is Deloitte's Switzerland specialist on FATCA, Brandi Fisher. Welcome to the studio. Can you tell us a little bit about FATCA and what it is?
FATCA is a new U.S. tax law that requires financial institutions outside of the U.S. to identify and report U.S. persons to the U.S. government on an annual basis. And there are requirements for U.S. banks as well, but the implications to the non-U.S. banks and asset managers and insurance companies and other financial service institutions is quite substantial. It will affect not just the top institutions, it will affect all banks, asset management firms, all insurance firms. Any institution that falls within the definition of a financial institution, a foreign financial institution, will be caught within the realm of the FATCA rules.
Now this has all come about out of tax evasion in the US. Can you sort of enlighten me and our audience a little bit more on this?
The US has enacted a law that requires the non-US financial institutions to identify U.S. persons and then report those U.S. persons directly to the U.S. government. And there are specific criteria that the institutions need to use in order to identify these U.S. persons. The U.S. government will then receive this information about who the persons are and what assets that they hold outside of the U.S. and what income they're earning on those assets outside of the U.S. And then the U.S. would have a mechanism to then verify that information against the tax records of the U.S. persons that are reporting that information on their tax returns.
Does this not strike you as maybe something that's a little hard to swallow for some institutions, maybe?
This is something that is different and beyond any other regime that institutions have dealt with before. This captures funds and asset management firms and insurance companies that were not previously familiar with this type of regime.
So certain institutions, where would they need to start, for instance, if they were looking at this new regulation? Because it's coming in next year. Mm-hmm. So where would they need to start?
Well, I think the biggest piece of work will be with respect to the pre-existing accounts. And the reason that is because this is a law that's not just relevant for new customers on a prospective basis from the effective date of the regime. So the law becomes effective on the 1st of January 2013, and all pre-existing accounts, so all accounts that were active and accounts as of the date that the agreement becomes effective, are relevant. And what that means is that any account that a bank has on the 1st of July 2013 will need to be reviewed, and the bank will need to determine if it's a U.S. account. The regulations prescribe, the regulations are currently in draft form. The draft regulations prescribe a specific list of indicia that needs to be searched for. Mm-hmm. And it prescribes certain procedures for accounts that are under $1 million for U.S. persons, for individuals, and for accounts over 1 million for individuals, it prescribes a more enhanced set of procedures.
Is there a concern that more accounts will be closed down as a result of this?
I think that we've seen in the news that a number of institutions have taken the position that they don't want to have U.S. customers, that at least here in Switzerland we've seen reports of U.S. customers being turned away from having accounts.
This is going to generate something like $1 billion maybe, something like that for the US as a result of this regulation?
I do not know the number off the top of my head.
Okay.
I guess the stick with FATCA is that there's a 30% withholding that would apply on any U.S. source income, and in the future on any proceeds from the sale of U.S. assets that would give rise to interest or dividends.
Well, it's such a large topic area, we could probably talk about this for ages, and maybe we can explore it next time. Thank you very much, Brandi, though, for coming into the studio. That's all we've got time for on Dukascopy TV. Stay with us though, we'll continue to bring you updates and further interviews. Until next time though, goodbye.